Hello, I'm Dr. Bill Inman. Most of you know me and have basically listened to me for hours and hours and hours delivering modules 1 through 5, essentially for certification, the VOM technology particularly. I'm theoretically the father of animal adjusting in the United States for chiropractic techniques and also the inventor of the VOM technology. We started in 1982, started teaching it in 1996. We've trained in excess of 8,700 drug doctors throughout the United States and many, many more throughout the world. I've also developed technologies for laser therapy. This is a course involving the applications of this technology to domestic animals for practitioners who are going to continue their education for the VOM technology. This concept is called VOM Module 10, and this is an introductory to that series that we're going to deliver with a series of, excuse me, with a series of videos and also materials. The materials for the VOM technology, about 110, VOM technology number 10, it's about 110 pages of information that goes with this course. If you found this video, it's probably because you were directed to this video because of a link that I have when you signed up and registered and paid for this particular module, VOM Module 10. VOM Module 10 is an advancement of the technology essentially, but it's also being provided as a means to create 10 continuing education hours, essentially for people who need those hours, and also for some states who require those hours on a every other year basis to maintain their certification. Colorado and Nebraska come to mind right off the bat, although virtually every other state has allowed these particular continuing education credits for this particular course, anywhere from 10 up to 25. Excuse me. So I'm going to endeavor to deliver this particular course and have you jump back and forth between the PowerPoint presentations and the other data that are in this particular course. Right now, this is the course that we're going to have you look at right here, and VOM Module 10. And so what I'll have you do is at VOM Module 10 is called the CVCP, or Certified Veterinary Chiropractitioner Recertification Annual Seminar. It was actually supposed to be delivered in Greeley, Colorado last year, April 18th and 19th. We would have delivered it about 10 to 15 hours on those particular days, as we've done for years and years and years. We started teaching this course with live courses in 1996, and we would go to a particular location and deliver these courses for a period of about 3 to 4 days, where I would lecture for 10 hours or so, essentially in that regard. Let's switch back here to my fat face. And so what happens is we would do that, and you would sit and listen to me lecture for 10 or 20 hours on a whack. I apologize for being interrupted in that regard. So what happens is that we are able to deliver that for a long period of time with materials, the videotapes, the DVDs, and also the now that we have this information on YouTube videos, it makes it a lot easier and a lot easier for people to do that. People became more and more reluctant to jump on an airplane and travel someplace and stay there for 4 or 5 days essentially and stay away from their practice, whereas they're able to do this on a part-time basis, which is how we'd like to offer it. Now, the reason we didn't deliver this last year in April 19th and 20th, or I'm sorry, 18th and 19th of 2020 was because, of course, of COVID. I had the last course that I've delivered live was actually supposed to be delivered the first week of April, but was actually canceled because of COVID. And we had to try to deliver that in a Zoom video, essentially, which was a nightmare. It's really difficult to do that. People have a tendency to go to sleep when they're watching a Zoom course, especially a live course. So we have the ability to record this and have you basically look at it and stop it and pause it and basically go back and look at whatever it is you need to look at, as opposed to listening to me lecture on and on and on a computer screen, which has got to be particularly boring and not much fun in the first place. So anyway, this is what the course is going to be. This is the introduction to the actual course. You're going to have links that'll go to these other YouTube videos that'll basically be the nuts and bolts of this particular course. They'll be anywhere from 1 to 2 hours at a crack. And like I say, you can stop and run them, etc., go back and do whatever you want to do and save them, etc., and that's fine. Those links are actually in the actual course that you registered for, that we sent you a link for, and that you're doing this course particularly from the skyprepsapps.com hosting site. Now, this particular course was not delivered because of the COVID, and I actually contracted the COVID virus in excuse me, in July 4th of 2020, where I contracted the disease condition that came to me from my daughter, who was working downtown Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, in a cookie store. Brought it home. I got the COVID. I was really sick for 4 or 5 days. I was able to actually utilize our new laser, which I can't talk to you about, which is, and we used it on pneumovirus essentially, and we were able to laser essentially my respiratory tract. And inside of 4 or 5 days, I was fine. I was out running around, felt fine, etc. My daughters and my wife ended up contracting this condition, and I treated them, and they responded quickly too. However, I ended up at day 13 or 14, developed a secondary form of the COVID virus infection, which is an immune-mediated disease complication of this particular disease condition, which causes you to have pneumonitis, pneumonia, all kinds of other problems. You can think of just about any target organ of your body is attacked by this virus, and the immune-mediated battle it goes on basically brings you up to every clinical disease condition and symptom you can think of. So the secondary form is miserable. However, the tertiary form was even more miserable, and that's the period of time where you'll cough anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 times a day. Every cough is so racking that it's like somebody stabbing you with a knife, and this is what wears people down, especially old people, and they succumb to this. The tertiary form becomes a quaternary form, which means you need to be on a respirator or a ventilator, essentially, and most of those people never get off of that. They go to the hospital and they die there. My pulse ox dropped below 91, which was the characteristic for people who can't breathe that need to be hospitalized. And reluctantly, I went in. My wife took me into the hospital to admit me, and they only had space for people. They were only taking people down to 87 pulse ox, and mine was 90. So what they did was they sent me home, told me to go home and die. I went home, and my wife healed me back to relatively normal, lost 30 pounds, et cetera, et cetera. I told you that story to tell you this story. Is that, but the titer that I probably have against this virus, the street virus, is probably immense. And me getting a vaccine is probably contraindicated. In the next several months, there is a strong probability that vaccination will be mandatory to travel on an airplane. I do not want to have a vaccine that basically will start to give me an immune-mediated cascade. Again, essentially, my first degree was in epidemiology, biology, microbiology rather, bacteriology, immunology, and the like, and public health. I have a goodly amount of knowledge about these types of viral pandemics, essentially, and this pandemic is really no different than any other ones we've studied, essentially. But getting a vaccine after you've recovered from the street virus is patently stupid, which people will figure out probably in another year or so. In the meantime, that's why I am not jumping on an airplane and driving down or going down to really Colorado to deliver this particular course, but we can deliver it all over the United States with this particular format. So I appreciate that you're basically taking the time to look at this particular technology. We're going to show you the fine tunings of modules 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Also some applications of specific applications for people who have a unique prospects of applying this technology in their specific field, in their area, and their application. So this is the condition or the situation that we are trying to do, and we will do that with subsequent YouTube videos that will be in this course, and you'll click on them in sequential order and listen to me talk and show, and we'll go over this information for VOM, what we call VOM Module 2, also a recertification module. Thank you very much for your patience, and I look forward to the rest of these courses. Now all I have to do is figure out how to make this system work.